Welcome back, builders. Well, with the current state of affairs and patio season coming to a close, businesses here in Canada are starting to move people inside. Sorry about that, California. As a business owner, it's a bit of a tricky proposition. We need to follow guidelines as well as find a way to make sure we don't turn the inside of our cafe into an Alcatraz-like cubicle nightmare, hence dividers. So we're all feeling the economic squeeze of this pandemic, more so if you own a restaurant, which means you need to find affordable solutions to practical problems. So here's what I came up with. Armed with one sheet of 2mm plexiglass, about $65, or $0 if you've got sticky fingers and a decent pair of running shoes, and about 16 feet of hardwood, we're going to put together a nice looking divider. And the grand total for materials will land somewhere under the $100 mark. That's much more reasonable than the several hundred I've seen people charging for what is essentially a very fancy sneeze guard. So let's dive into the woodwork and give our plexiglass somewhere nice to sit. Ha!
So here I'm just marking the lengths for the sides of the frame and rough cutting them on the crosscut sled before ripping this piece to 2.5 inches, the final width for the frame rails. I always like to leave things a little long just in case I need to make an adjustment later. That's a nice way of saying fixing my mistakes.
Alright, so now that we've got our pieces ripped to the right width, 2.5 inches, we just need to figure out now what the actual size of this thing is going to be. So once we cut our dados for this piece of plexi, which is exactly 24 by 48 inches, that it'll inset nicely. And I think what we're going to do on these corners is we're actually going to use a lap joint. So let's do some math. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Since we're lapping these joints and we have an inside dimension of 24 by 48, we want to set this depth of our dado to 1/2 inch. So that means we're adding 2 inches to every side. So my final dimensions here are going to be 52 inches along the top and bottom and 28 inches along the sides.
And here we make the final cuts for length. You can see roughly how much extra I left on there. Since there are 2 pairs of identical frame rails, I mark one with the tape, then use that to reference the other one. So 2 long guys and 2 short guys. And once you have those done, let me show you how the layout works.
Alright, now that everything is cut to its appropriate length, we need to work on these lap joints. So essentially what we're going to do is we're going to hog out half of this and half of this so that when they fit together, the final thickness is just one of these, which is 3/4 of an inch. So we just need to mark some stuff, figure out what to hog out, and there's a couple of ways to do this. What I'm going to do is run it through the crosscut sled and just gently and slowly hog out bits of this wood until they match up nicely. So let's cut a bunch of shit.
So with the width marked on each piece, which is 2.5 inches, I just set up on the crosscut sled and make my final cut towards the inside first, then slowly move outwards at increments of 1/8 of an inch, or the kerf of the blade. After making it all the way across, it's possible to slide the piece laterally across the spinning blade. Now be careful here, just to smooth out some of the ridges. Then you have to do this 7 more times. Once you're done, this is how the joint should fit together. It still sits a little bit proud, so it's time to clean everything up with a chisel and some sandpaper. Now that your faces are fitting nicely, we're going to get these frame rails ready for dados. That's a weird word to write out. It doesn't look right. Anyway, with a scrap piece of the same 3/4 inch wood, I mark out a 1/2 inch to set my blade height, as you can see here. Bring the height up so that the absolute top of the blade just kisses that line. Then you'll gently move your fence over until the blade is sitting exactly in the middle of your workpiece. You can eyeball this. Just make sure to run the same side through the saw for all the frame pieces, and it should all line up when you go to drop your plexiglass in. So with one side clamped together, be sure to do a quick test fit before applying glue to anything. Here's where you can make small adjustments like setting the dado height further or adjusting a lap joint so the groove lines up better. This is pretty critical, so don't rush. Once you feel confident with your fit, put some glue down and clamp one side. Once it has a chance to set up some, slide your plexiglass sheet in, apply a little more glue to the other lap joints, and put it all together. Look, it's a window.
All right, so everything is sitting nicely in place. Our half lap joints look good. Everything is clamped down properly, and we've got plexi nestled in, and now it's just gotta dry. All right, now that we've got our frame sanded down to 320, I need to make a base for this thing. It basically just needs to sit upright. So what I'm gonna do is take this piece of hard maple, find the center line, and then I'm gonna glue two other pieces right next to it with a 3/4 inch gap around it. And then that way we can glue the entire thing in and it'll just sit where it needs to.
This is one of those instances where you can be a bit cavalier with the wood glue. The entire assembly isn't very heavy, so the base doesn't have to be very robust, and I'm also planning to screw these into the tables, but it doesn't hurt to use a couple of fasteners in conjunction with the wood glue, in the event of a gale force wind sneeze, or probably, more likely, someone just barreling into this thing like a screen door they forgot existed, and don't act like you haven't done that. The added embarrassment of having your nose smushed in, it's one of the more humbling experiences we have as people.
Now we wait. So that brings us to here. A little finish and a wipe down with a microfiber cloth, and we have a super shitty flat screen TV that projects only the world behind it. However, we've done it for less than $100, as the wood I used, wormy maple, was only about $3 per linear foot, of which I used about 10 to be generous. So that's 30 bucks there, 65 bucks for the plexiglass, which has been grossly inflated, I think, by the big box stores, as they know we need this stuff at the moment, but it's easily accessible, so it's about $1 worth of finish, $1/4 worth of wood glue, and 4 screws. So let's call it $96.27. And it's made out of hardwood. So I'm happy with it, so too should you be. And if you own a place or work at a place or can market these to a place that need dividers, this is one of the more elegant and cost-effective ways to get them. So give it a shot, let me know how it goes. Shoot me a message if you got any questions, and we'll see you on the next one. Stay safe, my friend.